Welcome to Cinemonika.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It looks like I'm giving like a school presentation or something right now. I wanted to talk about everything that I've watched in the past couple of months because it's been a lot of things. A lot of really great movies, some movies that were literally the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and just other things that were, you know, kind of in the middle. I'm also really excited to show you guys some footage from the very first movie premiere that I've ever attended. It was for Netflix, and also I was able to meet one of my absolute favorite anime directors. If you saw my last video, you probably know who I'm talking about already, but I'm gonna show you guys a little bit later because it was amazing. Coffee break. Nothing like room temperature coffee. Okay, so I do need to organize my room a little bit, so I'm gonna talk about all of these movies while I do that. Okay, so how about we start with the movies that are just a little bit meh. Not the best, they're not the worst, they were just okay. The first one I watched that fits this category, even though it's been a couple of months, was Lightyear. Lightyear honestly kind of disappointed me. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie, but I wouldn't say it's a good movie either. I didn't really find it charming. The story wasn't really that interesting. It just lost all of that playfulness that Toy Story had. And okay, I know that this is not supposed to be a Toy Story movie. This is supposed to be the movie that the toy from the Toy Story movies was based on. It's still a Pixar movie, it's still a Disney movie, and I just felt like it was too much of a serious movie. I don't know, I guess that was the goal, but I just think that maybe the goal should have been different. It should have been, I don't know, a little bit more playful, a little bit more fun. I didn't think Buzz as a character was like compelling or interesting or funny or likable. They could have done something a lot more interesting. Finished my little bouquet, my little crochet bouquet of flowers. The next movie I watched that was just a little bit disappointing, not that great, was Blue Bayou. This movie is about a Korean American man who was adopted into a Louisiana family. He grew up in Louisiana. He doesn't know anything about Korean culture, even though he is ethnically Korean. He's an adult, he has a family, a baby on the way. But one day ICE wants to deport him to Korea. It's honestly a movie that's really important and something that happens to a lot of people in the United States. It's truly devastating. Sadly, the movie for me was a little bit too melodramatic with the music. Some of the scenes felt a little bit too soap opera-ish. I must say though that the cinematography is really beautiful, and by the end of the movie I was actually full-on bawling. The last like 5 minutes of the movie are heartbreaking. I think the story was great. It was just the way that it was directed that I didn't really enjoy that much. Okay, now a movie that might be divisive for some people because a lot of people really love this movie. Other people hate it. I'm honestly right in the middle of these opinions, and it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I finally watched it for the very first time. Actually, for the second time, because the first time I watched it on a plane, or at least I tried to, but I fell asleep. And honestly, when I watched it again, I realized why I fell asleep. It's actually pretty boring. It was just very underwhelming for Tarantino, I feel like. Also, too much feet. Why were there so many feet in this movie? Like dirty feet. I really liked the performances and the cinematography was really cool, but the story just did not interest me at all. Okay, the next one that I'm gonna talk about is the one that I went to the premiere for, and it's called Day Shift. It's out on Netflix, it just came out. It's about a man who hunts vampires for a living. He takes out their teeth because they're worth a lot of money. The movie stars Jamie Foxx, Snoop Dogg, Carla Sosa, and Dave Franco, sorry. Like I said, I went to the premiere. It was really fun. I walked the red carpet, which is something that I had never in my life done. And it was an experience. So I am going to my very first movie premiere today. I know. I am apparently walking the carpet. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm gonna see like Snoop Dogg walking next to me. Probably not. Very interesting to think about.
If you see celebrities, do not look them in the eye.
Why?
They don't like it.
Did they tell you this?
Yes, I know this. It is known.
Hair and makeup done. Now let's put on the dress.
Who tied the back of your dress? It looks amazing.
You did. Actually, you did a pretty good job.
Let's pretend it's the red carpet.
Okay.
Walk towards me, okay? Monika, Cinemonika.
I was thinking this. But it's kind of dirty. Look at this.
Ooh, that's awesome.
For the Barbie? Like the Barbie shoes?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, I just gotta say this. Give it up for this man. This is his debut film. He has been
The movie itself honestly surprised me because just from the poster, from the trailer, from just seeing what it was about. Luna, excuse you. I did not think that I was gonna like this movie, but I must say for a Netflix action comedy about hunting vampires, it wasn't that bad. It was actually enjoyable, entertaining. It's really bloody and like gnarly. There's lots of gruesome scenes, which I was really surprised about, and honestly I actually liked because it made me take the movie a lot more seriously. Hola. Overall, I think it was entertaining. It's not like the best movie I've seen. It's not the worst Netflix movie I've seen. So I put it right in the middle. The soundtrack was pretty cool, and there's a mention of Twilight. So, you know. Alright, let's now talk about some of the worst movies I saw in the past couple months. Okay, so that other corner of my room was definitely the minimalist side because as you can see, this is the maximalist side of my room. Walls filled with everything that I can find, every movie poster, every sticker. But we're making an effort here to, you know, make it look a little bit presentable for the video. While I do that, I'm gonna talk about some of the worst movies I've seen lately. First one being Your Name Engraved Herein. Sadly, it just disappointed me. Same kind of with Blue Bayou. It's a little bit too melodramatic for my taste. It's a movie set in the 80s in Taiwan where two male friends start to develop feelings for each other, but sadly there's a lot of homophobia, there's a lot of social stigma. They can't really fully accept it because other people can't accept it. I really wanted to like this movie more. I feel like it definitely started a lot better than the way that it ended. I did not like the ending at all. I was super invested in how their friendship was developing, how their crushes were developing. It just really disappointed me how it got too, again, melodramatic, too soapy, too many dramatic scenes back to back. The score was also very dramatic with the piano. It was too much. Like I said, the ending completely ruined this movie for me. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it was just one of the worst endings I've seen in a movie recently. I thoroughly enjoyed the story. I was very invested, but the execution was just not. It was not for me. Okay, so the next movie is kind of a cult classic. It's a movie I had not seen before, but I always wanted to. I just never really found the time. Well, now I found the time, and I wish I had not. Because it was really boring, and it's Ghost World. Honestly, if this movie has hype, I do not understand it. If you like this movie, please let me know why. I don't know if it's like a nostalgia thing, maybe. It just did not work for me. It was really boring. There was a creepy relationship between this older man and the teenager main character. I did like kind of the ambiguous ending. Of course, it has that 2000s aesthetics that it's very in right now. I feel like a lot of people would be really drawn to this movie because of that, but you know, substance over style. My opinion on the next two movies might divide a lot of people again. I've already expressed my distaste for these movies on my Instagram. Honestly, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I hated these movies, and I have no idea why are they perceived as, you know, peak romantic comedies, and they are You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle. Okay, let's start with You've Got Mail. A lady and a man have an online relationship. It's more of a friendship, but they really understand each other. They don't really know each other's names or where they work or anything about their personal lives, right? So far, so good. I like this premise. The woman has a bookstore, which was her mother's bookstore. She's really passionate about her job. The guy, he is a businessman who owns this huge corporate bookstores that are designed to take over the bookshop market. I mean, I'm still not mad at the plot, right? When things start to go wrong is when they both meet. They really dislike each other, but they don't know that they're each other's pen pals, and they are work enemies. He is trying to close down her business so he can have a monopoly on the bookshop market in that area. This means Tom Hanks' character is a jerk, and there is no way that this lady could even fall in love with him, right? I mean, unless he changes as a person, he quits his job, or he realizes that, you know, what he's doing is wrong. That never happens. He, in fact, runs her business to the ground. She's left jobless. He discovers that he is her pen pal, but doesn't tell her, so he lies to her. Basically, he is one of the worst main character romantic leads that I've ever seen in a movie. But in the end, somehow she ends up falling in love with him. She's like, oh, I was wishing it was you. Why? Not a fan of this movie. Okay, moving on to Sleepless in Seattle, because again, where are the morals in these characters? Meg Ryan's character listens to Tom Hanks' character's voice on a radio show, right? He's talking about his dead wife. It's really moving. I guess she feels really connected to him somehow. She then does everything in her power to track him down. Basically, she becomes a stalker. She flies over to where he lives and she stalks him and his son from afar. Like, she literally just goes there to observe them. She doesn't even talk to them, even though that would be also very creepy. She writes a letter to them because she feels like he's the love of her life, even though she is literally engaged to this other guy he doesn't really deserve his fiance to be doing this behind his back, honestly. At the end of the movie, they find each other on the Empire State Building because somehow the kid like really has a connection with her through the letter. I don't know. It's just very no. She's a stalker. I must say this one was a little bit better than You've Got Mail because at least it was a little bit charming sometimes. You've Got Mail was just really boring. But anyways, I don't know why are they considered the romantic comedies, right? If you actually like these movies, please let me know why. If it's because of nostalgia, because you watched them when you were younger and you really liked them and you know they have a special place in your heart, that's totally fine. I understand. I like bad movies, objectively bad movies, because I watched them when I was younger and I feel nostalgic. But if you do like them for another reason, please let me know in the comments. Okay, the next movie in the worst category is Persuasion, which, you know, most of you are probably not surprised that this is here because this movie was torn to pieces on Twitter, and rightly so. I mean, the writing is just very questionable. It's supposed to be a Jane Austen adaptation. I love Jane Austen adaptation movies because so far they've been pretty great. Emma, Clueless, Pride and Prejudice, all of these movies have been great. This is where the ball was dropped with Persuasion. I feel like Dakota Johnson was the absolutely wrong choice of actress for this movie. She just looks very modern. It might have been also because of how they styled her hair. She literally has like side bangs and beachy waves. Very odd. A very odd choice. Not only that, I found the movie extremely bland. It was really boring. It did not really hit that romance for me either. It was just honestly the definition of bland. Alright, all of those were the worst movies I've seen lately, so now I'm gonna talk about the best movies I've seen lately. And trust me, they're so good. But first, doesn't it look better? Or does it still look very cluttered? Should I do a redecoration of my entire desk area? Because I just feel like I keep adding things and now it's just too much. Maybe. I don't know. Please let me know. I'm gonna sit down for this. Alright, now let's talk about the best movies I've seen lately. First, I'm gonna start with House of Hummingbird. It's a Korean movie about this teenage girl who, you know, she's just having a hard time. She feels like not a lot of people understand her. Her family situation is really rocky. But she has this new teacher who she feels is a lot different than anybody else she's met. It's a coming-of-age story, and I must say, it is devastatingly beautiful. I must give a warning because you might cry watching this. It's actually really tragic. It's just not like an easy watch, but it is definitely worth it. This movie is long, it's very quiet, it's just a lovely movie, and if you love coming of age stories, then I think this one is a must watch. Next, I want to mention a series of movies that I've mentioned in the past that are definitely a must watch for any person that's interested in film, and it is the Before trilogy: Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. I recently rewatched these because Before Sunrise was picked as the movie of the week for my film club on Discord. We basically watch a movie every week and then we talk about it on Sundays. Well, this one was picked and I just felt the need to rewatch both sequels as well. They are some of the best romantic movies out there in my opinion. They just feel so personal because they're essentially 2 hours of two people talking, and that's it. They're just walking around the city talking about everything and anything, and I really enjoy it. It's very interesting. The conversations are thoughtful. I do think that Before Sunrise is my favorite of the three, then Before Sunset, and lastly Before Midnight. I think Before Midnight, even though it's still a good movie, it has a little bit more of a bitterness to it. I would say it's really realistic, of course. It just leaves me with like a bitter taste in my mouth. The next movie I'm talking about is Inual by Masaki Iwasa, and I actually attended the LA premiere of this movie as well. It was more like a screening, but it included a Q&A with Masaki Iwasa, the director, and I was able to go to a reception before the movie And this is where I had the chance to meet Masaki Iwasa. It was all thanks to G-Kids who organized this event, and I was able to tell him how much I love his movies, how much I love The Night is Short, Walk on Girl, which I've talked about a lot in my channel. But I'm gonna talk about his new movie called Inual. So Inual takes place in feudal Japan, and it's essentially a musical, but not just any musical. It's a rock opera. All of the songs performed are rock songs. Just picturing these amazing rock performances in this era of Japan is just incredible. So creative, so unique. It's about Inual, who was born with a curse, and this causes him to look extremely different than anybody else. So a lot of people call him names, a lot of people are scared of him. His own family kind of disowned him, but he's still a very silly character. He's still, you know, a very happy character. He meets this other guy who is blind, and they both form this friendship, but most importantly, this musical friendship. So his friend plays this instrument while Inual performs, he sings, he dances, and they become, you know, the sensation in the town. They tell all of these stories, and it is just amazing to watch. I cannot even take the songs out of my head. They are so good, so catchy. It is a complex story with tons of layers and a lot of history, so I really suggest that you watch it more than once. It just feels so grand, so powerful, and honestly like a breath of fresh air. I had not seen an animated movie quite like this one in my entire life. I was not expecting this movie to be like this at all. I highly, highly, highly recommend Inual. As you can see, I have this little fan right here that I got at the premiere. You see, I just keep adding stuff. I mean, how can I not? The next movie I'm gonna talk about, surprisingly, is Not Okay from Hulu. I literally just watched it today, and I must say I was pleasantly surprised. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. It just seemed like it was gonna be, you know, a cringy influencer type movie, like trying to cater to Gen Z. And to be honest, that's what it was. But I feel like it knew that it was that. So if you didn't know, Not Okay is about this girl who faked a trip to Paris. She started, you know, photoshopping herself at the Eiffel Tower. Basically, she faked this whole trip, but while she technically was supposed to be in Paris, according to, you know, all of her lies, there was a terrorist attack in Paris, specifically where she had said that she had been on that day. This is when she decides to fake having seen the attack, having survived the attack. Of course, this turns a lot of eyes towards her. She starts to become extremely Instagram famous. A lot of people are doing interviews of her, saying how brave she is. She starts to attend this support group in order to write an article on her experience. And there she meets this other girl who is a survivor of a school shooting. They bond, but what she's secretly doing is, you know, stealing from her experiences in order to write on her article, say it in interviews, and create this, like, you know, viral hashtags and things like that. It is honestly horrifying, but what I liked about it is that they did not redeem her. They did not try to make her a good person, you know, for you to feel bad for her, because the ending of this movie is what solidified this for me. The ending was just incredible. I think it did a good job at portraying how a lot of these tragic events are being monetized or are being used for clout or fame. This movie really reminded me of Ingrid Goes West, starring Aubrey Plaza and Elizabeth Olsen, which I absolutely love. It had kind of the same vibe of that as that movie, which I really liked. All right, now the best movie that I've seen lately is a movie that I watched 2 days ago and I have not stopped thinking about it, and it is Nope by Jordan Peele. Okay, so Nope, I was a little bit hesitant to watch it because I don't really like horror movies. I get disturbed very easily. So I try to avoid them as much as I can unless it's a director that I really, really want to see. Jordan Peele, I feel like I cannot miss his movies. Luckily, Nope, I don't feel like it really falls under the classic horror movie definition, at least not for me. It wasn't really scary in that sense. It was more horrifying in other areas. Nope is about a guy and his sister who have visions. They witness some strange things happening in the sky. I really don't want to give out spoilers, so I'm trying to be as cryptic as possible. If you do want to see my spoiler thoughts, I posted them on my Instagram. Just be warned that I talk about spoilers there. We all know that Jordan Peele shot, that Money shot, or like they say in the movie, that Oprah shot. It doesn't matter if you risk your life, if you risk others' life, if you do harm to animals in the process, as long as you get that fame, that money. Our society now is all about those viral pictures, those viral videos. That mindless entertainment that gets completely disregarded as long as the next, viral thing comes up. That's one of the things that I interpreted from the movie. There's lots of other points to be made, which is why I just freaking love That Scary in the sense of jump scares and look at this huge, ugly clown or whatever, but it's more terrifying in smarter ways. That's not to say though that there weren't very disturbing scenes, especially scenes involving a monkey. I'm not gonna say what it was, but my god, that scene with the chimpanzee was horrifying. The performances were amazing. Daniel Kaluuya is always great in everything that he's in, but Keke Palmer, she is so great. She's so funny, she's so charismatic. Her character was so likable, hilarious. She's just great. I want to see her in more things. Something else that I really like about Jordan Peele movies is that yes, they are horror, they are thrillers, they're serious movies, but the comedy in his movies is always great as well. So yeah, if you still haven't watched Nope, if you think it might be scary, don't be afraid, because I was not scared, and that's a lot to say. I really suggest that you go watch it in theaters. Alright, those were the best movies that I've seen lately. I do want to give a shout out to 2 K-dramas that I've been watching, and that is Business Proposal and Extraordinary Attorney Woo. They are not movies, but they have been a source of my happiness lately. Business Proposal is a classic, cheesy rom-com that sometimes you just need to watch, Sometimes you just need it for your heart to feel good, to just have a laugh, watch people fall in love. It's just great. Now I'm watching Extraordinary Attorney Woo, and I absolutely love it. The characters are so lovable, and the cases that they had to deal with are actually really interesting. And yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to my 2K dramas that are, giving me that source of happiness lately. But yeah, that's all of the things that I watched in the past couple months. Please let me know your opinions if you've seen any of the things that I mentioned, or what have you guys also been watching lately that you want to recommend me or anybody else in the comments. Please let me know. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.